Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today, we're joining you from a decommissioned Chuck E. Cheese animatron repair center. I mean, this is more fun than the original location, in my opinion.
I'm having flashbacks.
Alan, you're going to rent these things out, right? I mean,
I built these things. Please. Oh, my gosh.
So, for those of you listening at home, if you ever really wanted to know how the Five Nights at Freddy's video game was inspired, it's this place.
It's right now. It's right here.
yeah, I don't know, man. If you survived the 1970s and then somehow... Chuck E. Cheese is an 80s thing, but still, I mean, I don't know. The horror continues.
It does. Just, I have such shocking memories of installing these things.
Literally, he was electrocuted at least 17 times.
Well, if we didn't...
I'm reminded of the name of a song. It's called "The War Still Rages Within."
Okay. Well, if we didn't cause a little trauma right out of the gate, we're not doing our job. But anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And Max, later in the show, you've got something to contribute called the Tollund Man. Well, we're just going to leave it alone at that. Pretty interesting bit of history, and it's probably a good inspiration for another horror movie, I'm thinking. So,
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
It'll be the one where I stalk you out of here.
Yeah.
Make sure you never bring history again.
Yeah. I wanted to, later in the show, we all have our Disney Plus subscriptions, which every time I think I'm going to cancel it, they do something and make me not cancel.
No.
So they are geniuses at marketing. But it's getting to the point now where you have to pick and choose between which episode are you going to watch first, the new Mandalorian or the new Bad Batch? And I think the way things play out, it says a lot about the writing and everything. So we're going to weigh in on that. But Brandon, I've been eagerly waiting for you to get here because yesterday on Tool Talk Radio, we were talking about something that I'm like, boy, if only Brandon was here. This is right in his wheelhouse. And I'm talking about the new phenomenon of robotic cat toilets.
Okay. I don't like cats, but the only reason I don't like cats is because I don't like litter boxes. So I'm 100% on board with the idea of robotic kitty litter being destroyed. Or taken care of.
If you're not super familiar, because every week technology changes.
Oh,
and
that's true.
The day is coming, probably not that far away. They have these new devices where it looks almost like something out of the Jetsons, but the cat steps in, goes to the bathroom. It's got a hose attached to it. It's got a drain attached to it. And basically, it'll automatically rinse and clean and refresh and do everything to the litter box, and you don't do anything. And it flushes all of the bad stuff down the drain.
See, that just sounds perfect to me because, like I said, the only reason I don't like having cats around is because of the litter box.
Right. Well, here's the thing, though. So basically, my customer, there's advantages and disadvantages.
Right.
At this point, they either go into the laundry room and you hook it up to the drain hose there, which might be a tight squeeze. Maybe you don't have enough space, or you can put it in a bathroom. Right. So the question becomes, do you want to share a bathroom with your pets? I guess that's question one.
I will say that probably about 75% of Americans who own cats probably have a litter box in their bathroom. So, but you got to think those are usually like little, squares, maybe about 17 by 11.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a piece of construction paper as far as the width go.
Yeah,
I've seen these things. They take up a lot of real estate.
They do, and then don't forget there's overflow. The cat steps out. It's going to make you probably have to have a special mat that they can wipe their paws off and everything. But here's the thing. Cat psychology comes into play here because, as we mentioned, Allan, there is you can set it to two settings. For one thing, there's an app on your phone that you can monitor your cat's toilet habits, and it'll tell you exactly when it uses it. But what if a cat is really having fun with this thing because they step out and this automatic robot kicks into place? What if it becomes just a new toy and you're just burning through all the,
It sounds like a cat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out, you said cat psychology.
Well, what if it's scared of it too? That's the other thing. It's like, how do you ease your cat into this?
Well, one, all right, does this thing have a manual setting?
It does. Yeah, you can either do automatic.
Human activated, not
Right.
cat activated.
Right.
Right. All right.
Oh, let's just stop right there, Alan. You know that if there's a button, the cat's going to learn how to push it.
I know. But I'm thinking like while it's a kitten,
Yeah.
or you're adapting it to learning where to go potty,
Yeah.
it can be man activated, not cat activated, so that you're not traumatizing the poor cat when it takes a step back in and goes through the rinse cycle.
Well, okay. So, but I guess it's this is new technology. You might have a cat that's 3 or 4 years old, and you want to adapt this. So
Dude,
it's like,
there are TikToks of cats using toilets and pulling the flush handles.
okay.
Yeah.
The bigger
So-
thing was though, Brandon, could you train a dog to do this? Because you're a dog man.
I'm a
right?
dog- I am a dog guy.
So and would you get this if a dog
You
would
can
use
paper train and
Well-
pee pad train a dog.
Well, let's just take a minute to think about the fact that I just had my entire house redone.
Yes.
Bathroom,
Due to a plumbing mishap.
bathroom to kitchen, living room to office, everything's been redone. My dog's gonna have his yard.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Get me a little Roomba that will go through my backyard and clean up after my dog, and then will roll itself down to the street and deposit a bag next to my garbage, and we're talking.
There is actually a robotic tractor mower.
Alan's
not gonna pick it up.
No.
But-
You guys can't see this at
People
home.
are eating breakfast right
You
now.
can't
Alan.
see this at home, but Alan just lit up like Christmas, like, ooh, we can get this, which
There
means
is.
that he already has nefarious plans for it.
Yeah, but Brandon, with this technology that I'm putting forth, you don't even have to let the dog out. The dog goes into its own
Well, no,
bathroom,
no.
and
But
it's never
here-
seen. It
here's
just
the
goes
Look, when
away.
the dog takes
All
the
right,
paper.
here's the thing. We're talking about dogs here.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen what happens when a silent vacuum starts up around a dog?
Oh,
They freak
they
out.
go to battle. So that's the
And
thing.
if they're in the middle of their business when it decides to activate, that business is going to be all over your house.
Well, see, my bigger thing
just
is
gonna-
looking at this 20 years down the road. If we get the animals comfortable with
20
robots,
years down the road, my dog's going to have an exoskeleton that takes care of all that stuff for him anyway.
well, but how soon is it before they? Because this
Actually,
thing's
2 weeks from now, they probably will have those.
right. These things are hooked up to Wi-Fi. They're when could they become weaponized? In other words,
Oh,
is
they
where I always
already
go
are.
with it. So
We did that 30, 40 years ago. What are you talking about?
weaponized.
We had pigeon-controlled missiles 50 years ago, Joe.
The CIA actually put billions of dollars into cat research.
Well, weaponized cat toilets not only is a great name for a band, but it's a possibility of a dark future coming
Yeah,
ahead.
they had weaponized bats, man.
You're
what are you
so
talking
negative.
about?
Well, speaking of dark futures, you're listening to Geek Tank Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Their superpower is watching TV and arguing about it. The Geek Patrol is back.
Which we do pretty well. And by the way,
No,
guys,
we don't.
We've got a whole new catalog of rejoiners coming in. I guess I can just let people know that. So if you're excited about this stuff behind the scenes, I am. Anyway, never mind. Anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, you're going to really want to go back and listen to the first segment of the show. I think it portends a dark, well, possibly dark future, but maybe not. Maybe a future where cats and dogs live in harmony with robots
And they can get rid of the humans.
and then get rid of the humans. So
That's-
anyway.
I say, don't give a cat his ideas.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
that's in one of the Love and Robots stories in the first season on Netflix.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robotic Cat Toilet is a new name for my band. But Max, we're
And
throwing
it smells like your band, too.
speaking of that, we're handing the floor over to Max. So what do you got for us today, sir?
And now,
Of
a deep
course.
cut with Maximilian.
Fruit Ninja time.
All right. One thing about Max, you never really know what he's going to bring to the table.
So instead of calling it a deep cut, I guess you could call it a deep dig. Today, we're going to be talking about the Tollund Man.
How do you spell that?
Tollund.
Okay.
And by the way, it's man, M-A-N.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the Tollund Man, this is kind of a follow-up discussion of something we did on Tool Talk Radio, where we talked about the Shagir idol, which was a idol that's over 12,000 years old that was perfectly preserved in a bog, or a peat bog, you could say. And so we were talking about how it has peat bogs have preservative properties that enable it to prevent organic matter from decaying. So now we're going to talk about the more interesting thing, and that's bog bodies. And in particular, we're going to talk about the Tollund Man. And Tollund Man was a man found in Silkeborg in the Jutland Peninsula in Denmark in 1950. And they thought his body was so well preserved that they thought it was a recent murder victim.
Yeah, they found it because I saw the picture. I mean, you can see his skin, you can see the expression on his face and everything. So
it's pretty trippy. So he wasn't a recent murder victim. He was a not so recent murder victim that was dated to believe about 2,500 years old.
Okay, preserved in a peat bog.
Preserved in a peat bog.
Okay, well, there was an element to this that I think would appeal to Brandon. Which do you want to say what he looked like? What was this fellow wearing? Because
Well, he was wearing a cap, yes, but around his neck was a leather noose, and that's because he was death by hanging. But it was also presumably done for ritual sacrifice, because this was pre-Roman Iron Age and everything, and pagans would hang their people for ritual sacrifices.
Yeah. Okay. So you want a good crop this year and harvest, and so to keep the gods happy, you sacrifice this person. So the question, I guess, is: was this guy a volunteer, or did he draw the short straw?
I don't know if he. Yeah, it's like, did we get the whole? I volunteer as tribute.
But see,
or do you just get the guy who can't hold his liquor?
We'll see.
Because, his crops are going to be screwed anyway.
Well, Brandon, the thing is, you look at his face, and he has a very peaceful expression on his face. He does not look like it's not writhing in torture or whatever. That's the part that's the weirdest to me.
That means that when he dropped, it snapped his neck, and he didn't suffer by hanging.
Okay, but I don't want to dig too deeply in this, but you know about these things.
Oh,
You're the one that told us that when somebody cuts their head off, that they're still conscious for what, 15 or 20 seconds?
Yeah, that's why during when with the guillotine, that's why they lifted the head back. It wasn't so that the people in the audience could cheer for the head. It's so the head could see what was going on as it fluttered away into unconsciousness. And then once your eyes stop working, you still have another 30 seconds at the most to experience the sounds of people cheering your death.
Oh God! Yeah, but okay, never mind.
How do we know this? Because of various scientific methods since then that have registered brain activity upon death. Things like the separation of the spinal cord from the rest of the body.
So they need to do a Darth Maul thing for rather than cutting off the head where it's like
So
Futurama showed us the way.
So are you volunteering as tribute for a drawn in quarter while we study your brain?
No.
Well, Max, what's your vote? Do you think this guy volunteered? I think he might have. Back in the day, people they had kind of strange ideas. I don't know.
I'm more of the opinion of he was conscripted.
Okay, what does that mean?
As in, like, I'm pulling the short straw.
He was voluntold.
It's the lottery.
I don't think anybody would be like, "Oh man, I just can't wait to die."
It's like when you're trying to get into a charter school and you're hoping for them to pull your number. This is the opposite.
Well, the thing about it is, I don't know how old this guy is. The guy didn't look like he looked like he was probably in his 20s or 30s, right?
Which at that time
he was about 40 years old.
He was probably a grandfather by then. Yeah.
Which was old by that time.
Yeah, Allan was there. He knows.
His last meal was a porridge.
Probably. I think the guy volunteered.
We know. We've got x-rays.
We've examined his stomach contents.
Yes, we have already taken a look.
But I've been a fan of the bog body phenomenon for a decade easily.
Well, actually, they had in the 70s, they discovered a bog body, and actually a couple of people confessed to a murder because they had hid their victim's body in the bog.
Yeah, don't hide.
And they thought that they had dug that one up, and instead it was one that was 1,000 years old.
And what's really bad is when you have like spatial shifts. Sometimes those bodies make their way up to the surface.
Right,
yes.
they get cut because
that's when people talked about bog monsters, is because the way the body would come up, it would look like something that was surfaced to come after you.
Like it's crawling out of the soil, yes.
And if you put the a moonlit night behind that, and that it's like a Scooby-Doo.
Yep, an evening on the moors. Mm-hmm. Yeah, buddy.
Max, why did this interest you? It's funny, you're such a peaceful person, but you're always drawn to this weird stuff. So.
Well, it was because I was doing a research on the Shigir idol from Russia, which was 12,000 years old, and it just seemed like a natural shift because I literally found that, and then I was like, oh, Who's this Tollund Man? Very intriguing.
If you're fascinated with this stuff too, there's a lot of music. There's a pretty interesting music video. There's some band, I couldn't tell. They sounded like it was in, I don't know what language they were singing in, but if you go on YouTube and go down a rabbit hole, the Tollund Man has been they've written songs, they've written
the
stories
Tollund Man
about the
and
Tollund
the
Man.
Elling Woman both were found within a decade of each other.
Yeah, so don't hide your if you don't want somebody to find something, don't hide it in a bog. That's all we
It'll
can
be
say.
there forever.
All right. Well, we've done our advice. We've given our PSA, and that was pretty good, Max. Appreciate that. So you're listening to Geek Tank Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Tom Servo is their spirit droid. The Geek Patrol is back.
All right. All you're doing is triggering Brandon with that stuff, Max. But he's my spirit robot. I'll freely admit that. You're a crow.
And I am Crow's my spirit, but I think what really bothers me is that Tom Servo is not a droid. Tom Servo is a robot. The differences is that Tom Servo, though he has a humanoid personality, he's not humanoid enough to be an android.
No, he's a robot.
He's
like, what is it, candy dispenser or something?
Right. Yeah, he's Gumball Machine.
Yeah, that was it.
I resent all of everything you just said, Brandon.
Why? None of that is insulting to him. It may be insulting to you.
Okay. Anyway,
but I mean, you like toilets, so I mean, hey.
Good point. Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, just go back and listen to the archives when we post it, because we've dealt with robotic cat toilets.
The first two segments are amazing, and you're probably not going to like our opinions on this one.
Yeah, so check them out. And
I have questions.
Go to geektankradio.com. That's your one-stop shop. And despite what Brandon says, I still recommend you go to Geek Tank Radio on Facebook and check it out there.
They can also go to geektankradio.com. They can also follow us on Facebook, not only Facebook, but YouTube and Spotify.
So you want to talk about droids. Facebook Meta is run by a droid.
Okay.
He looks like Data's illegitimate child.
All right. Well, let's shift gears. Okay. How could we not talk about Disney Plus? Right. They bring us I don't know why they're releasing these the same day of the week, but now we have new episodes of Mando and the Bad Batch coming out. Brandon, what did you watch first?
Okay, I watched Mando. I've gotten to the point now where I'm banking episodes of the Bad Batch because I want to watch more than 30 minutes at a time.
Right,
probably a good idea.
That's the way you're doing Tri-Gut Stampede as well.
Right. I am right now. I'm fixing to hit 8, 9, and 10 on Tri-Gun Stampede, and I waited until 4 episodes of Ruby were done so I could hit the first 4 episodes of season 9 of Ruby. But
I didn't know Ruby was out.
Yeah, it hit Crunchyroll a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah, but Mando episode 3, I was like super excited because when Mando episode 2 left off, Bo-Katan had just saved Mando from drowning, and as she's bringing him up, she saw the mythosaur.
Right.
Which they're supposed to be extinct.
Okay, see, I misunderstood. They said they tamed the mythosaur, not
but
killed
that was,
them, right?
But that was eons ago.
But they thought they were wiped out. They didn't make them extinct. It's like the planet. So there's misinformation too. They said the planet's uninhabitable.
It was supposed to be dead.
Yeah. Right. So, okay.
And I was waiting on Wally to come out and clean something.
Yeah.
The whole time. I really was.
It's okay. So I'm super excited, and we get Bo-Katan pulls him out and asks if he saw anything. They head back to her place. They get attacked by the Imperial remnants, and they take off for a safe space. And then we go to Coruscant. And everything goes downhill from there. And it's not that I'm upset about the story. I'm not upset about the story. I'm all about wanting to know about the other people. But why am I getting a filler episode 3 episodes into a new season?
Can I ask you a question though? Because this is the question I had. So is the episode is called The Convert. My assumption was Bo-Katan is becoming a convert, or who's the convert, or is it totally on Coruscant?
The convert is the members of the Empire who are going through re-education to become part of the New Republic.
Or is it both?
No, well, we don't know. We won't know until the next episode or so whether or not Bo-Katan actually decides to be a part of the Watch. I don't think she is. I think she has too much independence to fall in line with the armorer.
So I had two questions about Bo-Katan before. So my question about her was what is it? The mythosaur?
Yeah.
Okay. That's part, because, Mando, you could say, is the very orthodox, whatever. He's like, they follow all the rules. She thinks that stuff's a lot of nonsense or whatever. But now, is the mythosaur a central part of their beliefs? And now that she's seen it, that's what she's having, like a crisis of faith in a sense?
I don't know if it's so much a crisis of faith as it will reestablish her goal of becoming the ruler of Mandalore.
Right.
Because the mythosaur, the darksaber, these are all things that would be, that are connected to the person who would lead the Mandalorians. She saw the mythosaur. He did not.
Right.
So the question
and she
is,
hasn't mentioned it yet either.
Right.
That's
the
why
question
I
is,
what's
did it
going on.
make itself visible to her because she is the true heir?
Okay. Because I feel like this was basically 2 episodes. I mean, so we'll follow this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we're getting over to Coruscant.
Right.
So.
And I think the reason why this bugged me so much is because we're 2 episodes in. We've got action going on, and it totally kills the momentum of the episode.
I mean, literally, it was 30 minutes of whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
well, but it brought up a lot of questions.
Right.
And all right, so he's the clone guy, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm just
what's
catching
his name?
up. I'm just
Doctor
catching
somebody.
up.
He's got
Doctor,
cool
I have
glasses.
the coolest eyeglasses on the series.
Dr. Pershing.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Pershing is coming along, but Dr. Pershing could bring with him a dramatic amount of tech.
Yeah. Well,
He could.
If he was allowed.
have. If he wasn't, served with coleslaw by the end of the episode.
I thought he did a good job too, because if you think about it, it would be like former, almost you could say former Nazis that are trying to reintegrate
So
into society. So he's very apologetic, very humble.
We've had German soldiers, we've had German scientists, we've had Russian scientists who during the wars would defect to the U.S. because they saw what their stuff was being used for, and they had a crisis of faith. Mm-hmm. They would change sides.
I guess what was kind of interesting for me with this scenario is it's kind of an uncomfortable level of suspense because all right, I'm waiting for them to break. I'm waiting for them to show their colors from their past.
Yeah, because that's the thing. We're dealing with former Empire people that are basically trying to be a part of the New Republic,
and Alea Kane was the head comms officer for Gideon.
Right.
She had a lot of respect for Moff Gideon. Mm-hmm. You saw that when she appeared before.
Right.
She was very much a loyal soldier to him. And while I don't think that she's really turning against the New Republic, when she saw someone else who was there who isn't really holding on to the values that she sees fit, she set him up.
By the way, spoilers, folks. I don't know if we gave any. I think if you're listening to this, we're dealing with spoilers.
We're going to talk about this.
Okay, so we're gonna we're gonna kind of go down that path when we get back. You're listening to Geek Tank Radio. We're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. They're not afraid to call him Voldemort. The Geek Patrol is back.
I think Allan just calls him brother.
Yeah. You come. Mom called. You're coming to dinner. What?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, stand by for spoilers. We're talking about The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 3, which basically you could call 2 episodes. Literally, it's the first section is the story of Bo-Katan, and then out of nowhere we're on Coruscant, and we're talking. We're seeing Dr. Pershing, the guy that was in. He was in Season 1. I don't remember if he was in Season 2.
He was in Season 1 and 2.
Dealing with cloning, and when they were all gung ho about kidnapping Grogu to, or assuming to cloning. Experiments on him and everything.
He was on Gideon's ship when they kidnapped Grogu.
And Alea Kane, I will say that, okay, so there's she's a short-haired, no-nonsense kind of, she looks like she could kick some Kadiddlehofer. She was
she'll whoop you. Yeah.
Former associate of Moff Gideon, and now...
She was his comms officer.
She was a comms officer, and now they're all in this basically... You could call it, what do you call this thing? It's like a little community of people that were former Empire that are living together trying to assimilate into the New Republic. And I'll give her this. During the scenes she was in, I was like, okay, there's something really, either she's a very bad actress or there's something very phony about her. And then at the end of the episode, you learn, oh, okay, well, it makes sense why she was acting so odd. And so I thought, okay, well, the actress actually did a really good job in that situation. Yeah. So
yeah, we know that she's not a bad actress because you genuinely believe she was a rebel freedom fighter in Quantumania.
I think if you're a good actor, acting like you're bad, that sounds pretty tricky.
Well, she's
it's, so anyway.
Okay.
All right.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Catch me up here.
Okay.
I'm having a problem with the armorer.
Okay.
My writer instincts, my spidey sense is tingling because the armorer, correct me if I'm wrong, was less than enthusiastic about this whole trip back to the old home planet.
Right.
Okay.
To bathe himself in the
So the armorer is the one giving all the advice, right?
Right.
And poor Din keeps running up against this advice and this keeping the faith thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so Bo came from a group that called Din's group a bunch of loony moonies. But now she's being sucked back into the fold because she didn't take her helmet off. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So all right, help me out here.
Okay.
Am I the only one that suspects the armorer is up to something nefarious? Is that just me, or help me out here, because I'm watching it's one of these subtle things, and knowing Favreau,
right,
that it's kind of the J.K. Rowling thing. I'm going to mention a rat in book 1,
okay,
and in book 9 it's going to be an integral part of the whole story. So
right.
I'm getting this spidey sense that, all right, we had the two separate stories that are going to collide about episode 5. Because that's the way Favreau works.
I'll give you that.
The reason we had to cook Mind Flay Spectacle Boy is going to become horribly apparent in 5 when all this collides. Is the armor, and Brandon, I trust you implicitly on these things.
Okay.
I just got the feeling the armorer is not the all that in a bag of chips. And I think the convert might actually be Din away from the advice of the armorer as he keeps discovering, the planet's not dead.
Right.
We can go. All right, the planet is a total waste.
True.
Don't get me
wrong. It
wrong.
could be rebuilt.
Don't like I said, I expected Wall-E to have a spot on a hill someplace.
Right.
Okay.
So all right, so that's where I'm going to look at Brandon and go.
Okay, so let's go back to the Clone Wars.
Yes.
Clone Wars was Rebel. I believe it was Clone Wars when Darth Maul had his Mandalorian loyalists.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a male and a female, who we saw without helmets on quite often before they officially became the Death Watch. I believe that the armor is her.
Really?
Yes. And the thing is that with them away from Mandalore, with her in charge of this, she can pretty much do whatever she needs, whatever she wants, and that could possibly connect back to Blue Sun. We know that the Maul's gone at this point, but we don't know where Kira is. So we very well may be setting something up completely.
And thus the adherence to never take the helmet off.
Right. So you never know who she actually is. But with Din going and finding out that the air is fine on Mandalore, and with enough work, they could fix everything they need to do and go back. That pretty much, lends to the fact that the Death Watch were the outcasts. They are the bad guys. And Paz Vizsla knows this, which is why he was very quiet in this episode.
Okay. All right. I knew I was going to see you today, and I'm like, all right, I just got a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
I got a feeling.
Yeah, you can't trust her.
It also makes me think of the idea of, when your myth is proven wrong and everything by reality, everything, it suddenly delegitimizes you as a leader who's with all these outcast people away from the terrible poisoned land of exile.
I don't know, though. It's interesting because she was, I don't know. She didn't outright prohibit him from going.
That's part of the
see
plan.
A hole in your plot. Sorry, I see a hole in the story because if that was her motivation, then she would have just, he said, I've got to go bathe in the waters of this such and such. Well, if she's the armorer, she could have said, "Oh no, you don't have to do that. I can redeem you by doing such and such, and you don't have to
do that."
Wouldn't that sound
because
wouldn't that kind of sound really sketchy?
What does he know? He was adopted. I mean,
she doesn't want him there. She got rid of him. Why did she all of a sudden ask, as he was learning how to use the Darksaber and could very possibly become the new leader of the Mandalorians, why was it then that she decides to ask Paz Vizsla if he's ever removed his helmet and then ask Den? It's because she knew his helmet had been off. She also knows Paz's has been off too because he's Jon Favreau underneath. Anyway. She was working it to get rid of Den, and she was hoping he would die on the planet's surface, which he would have done if not for Bo-Katan.
Is the armorer going to be dead by the end of season 3?
God, I hope not.
No, I think
she's going to be the villain.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I kind of
just
like
my Spidey sense, man. Just my
her.
Spidey sense on this. I was just kind of sensing it go.
Well, so we've grown to trust Jon Favreau, so we'll hopefully get some of these answers by the end of the season. But we're watching with great interest, and we'll continue to report in. But guys, it's time to get out of here. We're out of time. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Allan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian,
and I am Brandon Olmsted, reminding you not to look in your robot litter box for the Tollund Man. He's not there.
Oh.